Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dirtbags and Pinstripes, joined as always by David Swor. I am DJ Cox. And David, it's been a long time coming. Jeff Busenitz is on the show with us. Jeff, thanks for coming on tonight, buddy.
Nice to be here.
Appreciate it. Jeff was a teammate of ours at Tennessee Temple University, one of the pitchers on the team there, and we're going to get a lot into his story and his career. He's a big fan of the Kansas City Royals, so if you're a fan of the Royals, this is going to be a good podcast for you. Talking some Royals baseball, David. I'm looking forward to that a little bit. We don't go there too often with the Royals, so that's going to be an interesting one for us to kind of dig into a little bit tonight. So I'm looking forward to it.
DJ, did you make it to Kauffman this year? This was supposed to be Kauffman Stadium year, right?
This was supposed to be Kauffman Stadium year, and it didn't happen. And Jeff, that's another thing too, is when that does come up, that's got to be something that you join up with, and we'll go to Kauffman together, buddy.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds fun.
Yeah, and then David, when he makes his trip out west, he can join us as well. You know, we got all these good plans. But Jeff, David destroyed me on I got a ballpark map back here where we're trying to, get all the stadiums in. I think I'm at 13 different teams and 21 different parks. And David got 3 in this year. You were all over it, man. He kicked my butt. I just went to Cubs and White Sox this year, but David had a great summer. Catching up on me.
Big plans for next summer too, DJ. We're me and Reagan are trying to make that an annual thing. So it's either going to be Red Sox or Giants next year. That's what we're thinking. So
those are 2 good ones, man. Definitely ones I have not been to, and I'm really looking forward to those 2. Those are about as good as it gets right there with those 2. So, all right, guys. So we'll kick off the podcast with a little bit of a recap on the first series, the first round here. First off, David, I just had this quick question for you before we start here. Did you like the 3-game series better than the 1-game series?
Absolutely. I love the 3-game series. I think baseball got it right.
I agree, man. This was a lot of fun. It felt like more of a playoff this way. Not that any team really lasted that much longer because most of them went 2 games, but it did feel like, they got their playoff run in a little bit, at least had a chance instead of having one bad game and being out. So the first one I want to start with, David, Padres and Mets. I predicted by the time we were on the show with Jeff that the Mets would be out, David. This is one of the few things so far that I predicted correctly. The Mets are out. They fell apart. The Braves destroyed them that series. And you know what? A lot of the Mets are blaming the Cubs for that sweep that they had late in September for what derailed them in the division. And then the Braves just kind of put the dagger right in there for them. So Cubs fans, we destroyed the Mets season. This is payback for 1969. That's what it is, David.
DJ, nice try. So I would have been, just to be honest with you guys, 0 for 4 on the playoff series. Every team that I thought was going to win lost. And this one kind of surprised me. You had Scherzer and DeGrom going back to back, and I know the Padres have good pitching as well, but I really thought that the Mets were going to pull it out. And man, the Padres got their hands full right now, DJ. I know we'll move on to that here in a minute, but Dodgers kind of put it on them last night, and I think it's tied last I saw tonight, so it's going to be interesting.
It is, man. Like you're talking about, Scherzer got bombed in game 1, 7-1. Padres go off and win it. 7 earned runs, 4 home runs allowed by Scherzer. Josh Bell hit a 2-run bomb. Trent Grisham hit a solo shot. Jurickson Profar 3-run shot, which in my mind kind of put the game away. Profar's shot was huge, and Machado nailed one as well, and ended up being the 4th home run that ended his night. And so Yu Darvish goes 7 innings strong, 1 run allowed, 6 hits, 4 Ks, pitched awesome. Profar was 2 for 3, and Kim was 2 for 3. Marte was back for the Mets this series, David, after being out for a month. He went 2 for 3 in his return. So what'd you think of game 1 with Scherzer just getting absolutely destroyed?
I think we're breaking up a little bit, DJ, but I want to thank Josh Bell for single-handedly ruining my fantasy season and then deciding to hit a home run in the playoffs. It was really annoying. But yeah, Max Scherzer, man, that shocked me. 4 home runs in that game. I would not have predicted that. I don't think there's any better a big game pitcher than Max Scherzer, so I did not see that coming at all.
I did not either. You Darvish definitely outpitched him there, and like you were talking about before, when you got Scherzer and DeGrom going 1 and 2, you think that the Mets' chances would be pretty good there. When Scherzer fell apart, you knew that they were in a little bit of trouble, but you also knew that DeGrom was pitching the next day and that he's probably not going to lose, which he did not. And the Mets stole game 2, 7-3. DeGrom goes 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 Ks, 6 hits. He was good, and Blake Snell once again struggled in the playoffs, David. I don't know what it is about him, but he only goes 3 1/3, 2 earned runs, 4 hits, 6 walks. Not a good outing by Blake Snell as well. Soto was 2 for 4. Grisham with 3 runs for the Padres. Brandon Nimmo was 3 for 4 on the day. Lindor 2 for 4, and Jeff McNeil added 2 RBIs. So game 2, David, I kind of wanted to pick your brain on Blake Snell. What's his problem in the playoffs, man?
PJ, you're breaking up on me, buddy. I missed whatever it was you just said. I missed it. Are y'all?
All right, so David, I was kind of wanting to pick your brain just on Blake Snell and the troubles in the playoffs. So what do you think the deal is with him in the playoffs?
I don't have any idea. So he was another fantasy big league Bombers player, and man, the last month of the season he was lights out. So again, I really didn't see that coming, and I guess I didn't think about the playoff struggles that he had before. Sometimes I wonder if that's a little overrated. Some people think, oh well, he can't pitch in the playoffs or whatever. I don't know, if that's the case necessarily, but like I said, man, he was pretty much good for double-digit strikeouts every game the last at least month. So I would say it's just a blip on the radar.
Yeah, man, it was a tough outing for him. We'll see if he bounces back. If he gets another opportunity here against the Dodgers in this 5-game series. And game 3 was a 6-0 Padres win. Man, the Mets were never in this game, David. 1 hit and 1 walk, and the man Joe Musgrove just dominates the Mets and ends it. I couldn't believe the pitching performance from him. It was outstanding. Machado and Soto led the way like they should. They're getting paid to. And Trent Grisham was also awesome in game 3 as well. And Austin Nola with a huge hit, driving in 2 runs in that game as well. So, David, one of the things I wanted to kind of talk to you about is Buck Showalter had Joe Musgrove checked in the middle of that game. Number 1, do you think that was he actually thought he was cheating? Number 2, do you think he was trying to get in his head? Or do you think it's all the above?
All the above. I do think Joe Musgrove had something on his ears.
Okay.
If you'll notice, when Buck was walking to the mound, did you guys see him wipe his ears? I don't know if you guys noticed that or not. So I think he probably did have something on his ears, but I also think, what has Showalter got to lose by doing that? Right? You're just trying to interrupt the rhythm a little bit, maybe get in his head. So I didn't think it was a bad move personally.
So, Jeff, there's where I'm going to ask you a question on this whole deal here with pitchers and all the substances that they've been using. What are your thoughts on all that with the substances being illegal, legal? What are your feelings on that whole issue there?
Yeah, I'm just glad they're clamping down on it. I think that's important. Keep the playing field level and let guys succeed on their talent alone.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's good that they're doing that, and that's interesting that he did that. I'll have to go back and look at that, David, because I didn't see that. But his ears definitely looked a little different. I don't know what was going on there, man. But
a little red and shiny.
Whatever he did worked because the Mets had no shot in that game whatsoever.
That was the quietest playoff game I believe I've ever heard. Like you said, that the Mets were never in that game. There was never a chance for them. The most exciting thing that happened was when they brought Edwin Diaz out. So, literally. Wow. I mean, Musgrove was amazing.
He was amazing. And so moving on from that, as the Padres did, they got that big series win to keep the Dodgers at bay here. So it was definitely a to go against the Dodgers, I should say. So the Padres definitely needed that win for their franchise sake with all the money they've been spending and all that they've gone through with the Tatis situation. To move on to the final eight was huge for them. So Padres move on. Mets go back to the drawing board for an offseason. DeGrom does become a free agent, so we'll see what happens there with him. And the Mets may look a little different come next season. So on to the Cardinals and the Phillies series, David. So this was a crazy series from the perspective of game one, where the Phillies pull off a 6-3 victory. The Cardinals finally get 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th, and the Phillies storm back with 6th in the 9th to win it. Juan Yepes hits a 2-run bomb to put the Cardinals up, which I never heard of that guy until he hit that homer, and a huge homer it was, obviously. And Q dominated. Jose Quintana, David, of all people, 5 1/3, 2 hits, no earned runs. I would have never guessed he would have pitched game one for the Cardinals in the playoffs, and pitch he did. It was an outstanding performance by Q. But then the wheels come off with 4 runs in the 9th off closer Ryan Helsley. What a comeback. Gene Segura in his playoff debut has 2 RBIs for the Phillies. Nola going for the Phillies in game 2. We knew that the Cardinals were in a little bit of trouble, David. So what was your thoughts on game 1, first of all, and then the performance by Jose Quintana on the mound?
I could not believe that Helsley melted down, man. He's been so good and so dominating. Jeff, you know, you're fairly close to St. Louis. Have you seen Helsley pitch at all?
No, I haven't.
Oh, man. 101, 102. He can just dot it in there. So, of all the things that I thought would happen in the Cardinals series, I did not see that coming at all. And I was talking to my good buddy Reagan there. He's a huge Cardinals fan. And I told him that I thought the thing that was going to mess with him was their starting pitching. But actually, it was pretty good. Like you said, Quintana pitched very well. And that kind of shocked me. But I didn't see the bullpen meltdown happen. That's probably like one of the last things I would have thought would have happened.
So game 2 moves along. The Phillies win 2-0 and win the series 2-0 as well, ending the careers of Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, who both singled in their final at-bats, which was cool. Adam Wainwright probably gone as well. With the possibility of Nolan Arenado opting out now, rough times could be ahead for the Cardinals indeed if they don't have a nice off season. But Bryce Harper hit a huge bomb in this game. That was really all they needed. Nola went 6 2/3, 4 hits, no runs, 6 Ks. Man, Wheeler and Nola, David, that was pretty nasty. Those 2 guys proved to be aces like they are, and the Cardinals were gone. So what are your overall thoughts on that series, David?
Again, I just didn't see this coming at all. This is one of those series that I probably had a higher confidence level than any of them. I really thought the nostalgia was going to be a big help to the Cardinals, and I thought they had a winning blueprint, man. Good defense, good bullpen, but you know the Phillies got hot at the right time.
So Jeff, I'm going to ask you this, man. So Albert Pujols came into the major leagues when me and you and David were in college back in 2001, and he had 704 home runs, man. Talk about Pujols' career real quick.
Yeah, he's something else. I mean, he's a classy ball player. You know, I don't know for sure where he was at. I'm kind of curious where he was at with some of the, you know, performance enhancing stuff. I'm just curious because he kind of came in back when that was still going strong. But definitely great ball player. Wouldn't want to take anything away from what he's done.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And the career finally comes to an end. What a outstanding career, Albert Pujols absolutely destroyed the Cubs all the way up until the last game that he played against them, where he hit yet another walk-off against the Cubs. So from that perspective, I'll be more than happy to see him go. But that guy was so good for the game of baseball. And what a career for Albert Pujols there. So the Phillies move on to play the Braves, and the Padres against the Dodgers are setting up the Final Four in the National League. All right, so the Rays and Guardians series, game one, the Guardians win 2-1, and this was a great game, a big pitchers duel yet again. Jose Ramirez, David, is a man. Wow. 2-run bomb after the Rays went up 1-0 top of the sixth. Jose Siri hits a bomb in the top of the sixth. He's turned out to be a nice player for the Rays that they got in that trade there. Pitchers dominated as well. Like I said, Justin Bieber, he's 7 2/3, 3 hits, 1 run, 8 Ks. And then McClanahan goes 7 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, 5 Ks. So they both pitch out absolutely outstanding. So what were your thoughts on game one, David?
Well, first of all, DJ, he's got Bieber fever. He's got Justin on the brain. It's Shane Bieber. I know you love Justin. And
did I say Justin?
Yes, you did. It was really awesome. I'll forever remember that and hold that over your head.
Yes.
But, man, I love the Indians, and I hate they have to play the Yankees, the youngest team in baseball, the absolute youngest team in baseball. They're too dumb to know that they're not good. They just get out there and play. They've got great pitching. Their bullpen is amazing with Clase and Karinchak in the back end of it. I love that they took out the Rays because I hate them. And so I love this series. I hate that they have to play the Yankees.
So Jose Ramirez, man, just steps up his game. What a huge shot by him. That guy is an absolute stud. One of the most underrated players in the game, just being honest.
Yep.
Never gets any love on a national perspective as being, he's one of the top 20 in the game for sure, and doesn't really get the love he deserves. So good on him, man. That was a huge win for the Guardians. Moving on to game two. This game was crazy. The longest shutout by both sides in playoff history, going 15 innings, David, before a walk-off home run by Oscar Gonzalez, of all people. That's Mr. and Mrs. Gonzalez's kid, because nobody knows who that is. Game over, series over. Unbelievable. The Guardians win 1-0 in 15 innings, series over. Moving on. I would have not picked the Guardians to beat the Rays. I thought for sure the Guardians were done. We just keep underestimating them, and David, they just keep on winning.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, it's great story. And, man, the Guardians built that through trades, really. The Lindor trade and trying to think of the other one with the Padres that they got Josh Naylor back in. So kudos to them, man, the quick rebuild.
Quick rebuild indeed. And the Guardians draw the Yankees, David. And so that's a big series coming up here. We'll get to in a minute here. And then the final series we got to get to here, Blue Jays and Mariners. Game one, Seattle makes their playoff debut for the first time since 2001. Also, when we were back in college with Ken Griffey and the boys on the team back in that day, Ichiro's rookie year. Still in shock that the Blue Jays offense got a playoff goose egg, David. Seattle won in the first inning with 3 huge runs off Alek Manoah, who did not pitch well. And Luis Castillo did pitch well. Blew away the Blue Jays 7 1/3, no runs, 5 Ks, and 6 hits allowed. Eugenio Suarez had 2 RBI for Seattle. Luis Castillo, David, what's up with that guy?
Yeah, man. And they extended him. We talked about that on the last show. I think people are finally getting to see how good he really is. He's been kind of hidden there in Cincinnati, smaller market and everything. But, man, what a great pickup by the Mariners.
Huge win. Seattle goes up 1-0. And then game two, what to me was the craziest, most fun game to watch of this first round. I'm blown away by what happened there. The Mariners come all the way back, win the game 10-9 over the Blue Jays. When the Blue Jays started rolling, David, I thought, oh, man, here we go. This offense clicked. They're going to roll this into game 3 and blow the Mariners out. It's going to be over. But, man, what a comeback. 8-1, and then it just completely melted down. Seattle gets 4 in the 6th, 4 in the 8th, and 1 in the top of the 9th to win it. Teoscar Hernandez hits 2 bombs in the loss. Adam Frazier with the game-winning ribby for the Mariners. And David, one of the things I know you knew I was going to go here with Whit Merrifield. You knew it was going to happen. I had to bring Whit up in this series. This is where I'm going with this. Okay, Whit Merrifield gets nailed in the head. Okay, and he's just standing there like a little bit mad because everybody who gets in the head's mad. All right. Doesn't stumble, doesn't fall over, doesn't look like he's Tua Tagovailoa of the Dolphins, whereas he can't even move his hands or anything. And they take him out of the game, David. He took out Whit Merrifield, man. I'm blaming the loss on them taking out Witt. Because if they had Witt, Jeff knows they would have won this series. They would have won this game because Whit Merrifield is the man. So I blame this loss on the trainer who took him out of the game way too early, David.
What I tell you, Jeff? I told you he was going to come up. He was going to lose it. I don't even know what to say. It's
hey, he could have been the hero.
Yep.
Yes. Yes, he could have been the hero, man.
And you know what
they used to say in Kansas City, man? He's the guy that ambushes pitchers. So
yeah,
he does.
Well, I'm just going to say this, DJ. I pulled it up because I honestly had forgotten about Whit Merrifield. He really wasn't that good with Toronto either. So Whit may be on the downslide.
Ramel Tapia in left field dove for a ball for the Blue Jays there. Hit his head a lot. I mean, he racked his head. And here comes that trainer right after he took Witt out, running out there. And he's like, oh, no, you're good. You stay in the game. Okay, and what is the difference?
Maybe Witt's a wuss. Maybe Witt wanted to come out, DJ.
There's no way he wanted to come out of the game. That's garbage. I don't know, man. This was my pick to go to the World Series, so I blew it. The Blue Jays. I can't get it 2 years in a row, David. I'm upset at myself for making a bad pick there. Blue Jays fell apart here in the playoffs. You know what? With young teams, a lot of times what they say is you got to go through the losses to experience the wins. Maybe that's what the Blue Jays are doing. Then maybe they'll come back stronger next year for this. I don't know, but it's a long ways away, and the Blue Jays are out, David.
Yeah, I was with you, DJ, actually. From the beginning, I thought the Blue Jays had a good shot. But, man, this team seems like they're snake bit. I think they're going to have to shake it up a little bit next year.
They might have to. They may have to keep a couple guys, trade a few guys for kind of mix it up a little bit, see what happens, and see where they go from here, man. But exit stage left. Mariners move on to play the Astros. So real quick, guys, we'll get into a little bit of Royals talk here in a minute. But I just want to make some quick predictions and picks here for the second round. So we'll go Padres and Dodgers. I'm going to go Dodgers, David. I'm going to pick them to win it all. Obviously, they're my team to win it all. But for sure in this series, I'm going Dodgers. What are you going, Dodgers, Padres? Who are you picking to win?
I think the Dodgers are going to win, but I'm going to say Padres. I'm just going to go Padres. I think the Padres are chippy. They've taken some whoopings from the Dodgers. They're wanting to give it back a little bit, so I'm going to say Padres.
Jeff, you have anything to add? Padres, Dodgers, who you think is going to win?
No, I think the Dodgers are definitely a better team.
Agree 100%, man. They're top to bottom, one of the best, if not the best team in the league. Last night was a pretty cool game, just starting off game one here in the series with Julio Urias pitching 5 innings. Dodgers got Trey Turner, who will be a future Cub,
I knew you were going to say
it. to have a home run and a couple doubles in that game. He was dominant, and the Dodgers took game one. And Kershaw and Darvish are pitching right now against each other. Should be a great series. Looking forward to looking at these teams play. Probably a 4 or 5 game series. Don't think the Dodgers will sweep, but it's going to be a good one for sure. Braves and Phillies. This game is also currently going on right now with the Phillies pulling the upset off yesterday and going up 1-0. I'm still sticking with the Braves to win this series. Their manager made a comment about them sitting out for 5 days, and he blamed the game 1 loss on that. So he's already starting to whine. So maybe the Braves are going to lose. So I'll go Braves, but reluctantly. I want to see Kyle Schwarber and the Phillies move on, but I'll go with the Braves. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I'm going to say Braves too. And Jason Stiltner, if you're watching this show, I wish you were on here so bad, because I read the other day that in 2 years, the Braves are on pace to be over the luxury tax, over $200 million with all these signings. So I don't know what Stiltner's going to do now for his excuse to, That was always it. You know, the Yankees and their unlimited money and payroll. So the Braves are in that category too, pal. Going to pick a new team.
Just signed Spencer Strider too, man, to a nice team-friendly deal. But that luxury tax is looming, boy. This team is spending, and that's a great point.
All they do is buy players. That's all they do is just buy players.
Jeff, Braves or Phillies?
Yep, got to go with the Braves.
Yep, me and Jeff went to a lot of Braves games together back in the day, man. That was a lot of fun. We'd definitely get in somebody's car and drive that 200 miles down to Atlanta and go watch some Braves games, and it was a lot of fun back in the day for sure.
Yep, I still remember throwing Thin Mint cookies onto the field.
That is awesome, man. That's so cool. So Yankees and Guardians. This should be an easy one. Guardians in 3.
Well, it's not going to be. It's definitely not going to be that. Counting is hard, DJ. Counting is hard. The Yankees have already won 1 game, so it's at least going to be a 4-game series.
Yeah, so that was a crazy game last night for sure. Garrett Cole pitched really well for them, and man, I don't know, when Bieber gets on the mound though, Justin Bieber and poor Haley, his wife. Oh man.
Wow.
Yep. So this is gonna be a series though. They don't play today, they play again tomorrow. They've kind of gone
stupid. Let me just say that. What a stupid way to line this up. DJ, did you know there's a day off after game 3 or game 2 as well?
I saw that. Yep.
It's really dumb. I don't know what they're doing, but listen, I'm going to pick the Yankees, but I will not at all be surprised if they lose. The Yankees bullpen right now is an absolute mess. Scott Frost went down with Tommy John, Aroldis Chapman, got hurt feelings, and so I'm really not sure what they're going to do in the bullpen. So, but hey, who knows?
What did happen with Chapman? Because I heard he missed a mandatory meeting on a Friday. Was he going to be left off the roster regardless, and he was mad about it, or what happened?
It's been a really rough season. Chapman can't throw strikes. That's documented. And, of course, the Yankees are going to leave him off the roster. He had the issue with the tattoo that got infected. Chapman's not a winning player, man. I'm just going to say it. He's not a winning player. He's proven it over time. He's self-centered. He's a baby. So good riddance to Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah, he almost blew Game 7 of the World Series for us. He actually did blow that, and somehow we won the game. But, man, oh, man, I couldn't agree with you more. So, Jeff, your pick, Yankees or Guardians?
I got to say Yankees. You know, that Aaron Judge, he makes it hard to hate the Yankees.
Amen.
Sure does, man. That's a good point. That guy is something else. What a season he had. He'll probably go 0 for the playoffs, but we'll see what happens there.
It actually looked that way yesterday. If you watch the game, Aaron Judge is in a pretty ginormous slump right now.
Yep, he really is. And so that's going to be a really good series here. These games are now 5-game series, so these are kicking off now, and these are going to be also a lot of fun to watch as well. And then we round it out with the Mariners and Astros. And this is probably this is where Dusty Ball comes in here. And man, I think the Astros might survive this round. I'll keep them there, but I don't see them winning it all, obviously, with Dusty as their manager. But I'll go Astros. And then I want you to make your pick, David, and talk about Yordan Alvarez's walk-off and Robbie Ray and all the criticism Scott Service is getting for bringing him in. Your thoughts on that?
I mean, to be honest, I didn't hate the move to bring Ray in. He's a left-handed pitcher. He's a pretty tough pitcher. But, DJ, did you know that Alvarez is top 10 all-time in OPS?
Wow.
But, yeah, minimum 1,500 plate appearances. He's amazing. I'm definitely going to give this to the Astros. They have a Hall of Fame manager, and I think he's going to push them over the edge.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. I'll ignore that comment. Jeff, what are your thoughts? Are you going to go with the Astros or the Mariners?
Yep, I'm going Astros too. I think they're a competitive team.
No doubt about it. Yordan's walk-off home run was just absolutely a shock. I'll be honest with you. I had no idea that was going to even happen. The Mariners just cannot win in Houston. That's well documented, and that may be their downfall. They are terrible when they go to that stadium. They have hardly any wins at all there. It's probably going to be what totally takes them down. So, all right, Jeff, here we go, buddy. We're going to transition more towards you a little bit here now. We're going to kick off with some Royals talk here. So, talking from the perspective of this season, Jeff, with the Royals who finished with a 65-97 record on the season, what do they have to do to turn this around and move things forward with some winning? They just fired Mike Matheny as their coach, and David knows that I think that that's a great move, step in the right direction for sure. So, what are your thoughts on the Royals season this year and their team moving forward?
Yeah, that's a tough one. They're pretty bad. I didn't even make it to Kaufman this year just because it was pretty discouraging. I still did try to keep up with them, and but I agree with you. Letting Matheny go was the right thing. From what I hear, he didn't have great rapport with the players. Maybe didn't try or didn't care. I had a different style of leadership. I don't know, but I think it's time. It's time for that. And they've got so many young guys. I'm excited about a few of them, but it's just going to take some time to develop them. One of the things that bothered me the most this year was just the low batting averages. I mean, at one point, it seemed like we had three guys that were hitting over 250, or maybe even at the end, I don't know. But the batting averages were just so low, and we couldn't get guys on base.
You're so right about that, man. When I was preparing to kind of talk Royals here, I noticed the same thing with the averages. You see so many guys that are way below that 250 mark, man, and just a really bad showing by their offense this year. So I'm going to talk about a couple guys here. So Salvador Perez, 23 homers, 76 RBI, hit 254. Won a Silver Slugger last year, was one of the top catchers in the American League for sure. So what do you think of him, Jeff, moving forward? Do they keep him? Do they try to move forward from Salvi, or is he the guy you go around as your catcher?
Oh man, he's kind of like a George Brett. It's hard to think of the team without him. The team kind of builds around him. I see him as kind of a core player. It's hard to think of the Royals without him.
It really is, man. That guy had another really good season. A little more quiet than in the past, but it was really hard to top what he did in 2020 and 2021. So one of the guys I really want to talk to you about, Jeff, is Bobby Witt Jr. Now, this is the kid that everybody's excited about. That is your top prospect to come out into Kansas City in a long time. The hype is real. The season was real this year. Shortstop, third base, whatever they do with him moving forward. He made a lot of errors this year, that's for sure. He did struggle defensively. But he hit 20 bombs with 80 ribbies, 254 average, which I think will go up as he starts to mature a little bit in the majors. 30 stolen bases, 150 hits, and 150 games played. This kid's a real deal, and he's got speed, power. He's got it all, man. Talk about Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah, he's an exciting player. He's a spark plug, type of guy that gets things going. And I do hope that he can get his on base percentage up a little bit as he develops. But yeah, I mean they can sort of build a team around him.
David, what are your thoughts on Bobby Witt as far as shortstop, third base moving forward? I know they got Nicky Lopez, who they kind of think is a little bit better defensively. Witt did struggle at short some. What do you think they'll end up doing with him defensively?
I'm gonna be honest. I haven't watched a lot of Bobby Witt to really have an opinion on that. It would probably be better if he stuck it short. If he was able to stick it short, that's he would be a premium player there at short with a lot of good shortstops in the league. But I really just can't have an opinion on it.
MJ Melendez is also a catcher in the program that came up this year, Jeff, and he had a good season, 18 bombs, 62 ribbies, finished with a nice round number of 100 hits on the season. Average was 217, like you were talking about earlier. That's not a good average. But he did do some damage and driving in some runs there. Did not get a lot of catching time, obviously, with Salvador there. But he might be the catcher of the future there as Salvador gets a little bit older here. And Melendez can play maybe a little first base for him and DH some, since they do have the DH, obviously. So MJ Melendez, any thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's a powerful player. I really like his swing. It's a kind of a unique swing, but he's got a lot of power behind it. He can hit to the opposite field. So, I don't know if that I'd put him in the leadoff spot like they did for the last month or so. That may not be the right place for him, but he definitely has a future.
No doubt about it, man. He was definitely a spark plug on these young guys that the Royals brought up this year to sort of bridge the gap to the future once they understood pretty quickly that they were out of it. Vinnie Pascinito actually won Player of the Week for the Royals this year. Jeff had a good season, came up, and actually was on fire there for a while. 10 bombs, 26 ribbies, 295 batting average, and 70 games played. So just a little short time there. Looks like a really solid player, left-handed bat, big boy too, can definitely swing it. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's going to be around for a while. He's a solid player, and he draws some walks too. So,
Jeff, Whit Merrifield got traded, man. I know had to go here. This is terrible. I was hoping he'd be a Royal for life, man. This is bad. Bad news. I think he's a cornerstone that should have stayed with Bobby Witt moving forward. He's up there in all the all-time ranks for the Royals. What were your thoughts on his career with the Royals and then him moving on?
yeah, he was something else. He could hit the ball, and I liked his speed. He was good at second. I definitely miss him, but I know he was struggling, and they were probably looking for anything they could do. I don't know. It's hard to say with some of the decisions that were made this year. So what are they going to do with the general manager spot?
Yeah, that's a good question too. Is they've pretty much got rid of the GM, the manager. A lot of the higher ups have been booted out of there, Jeff. So they've got to pretty much start all over on the top, and that's a good point because I was reading in on some of that stuff today, and they've got a long way to go. But you know what? They're kind of in that spot with having a season like they just did, to just kind of restart. It's what the Angels need to do. It's what the Royals need to do. You got to start somewhere. You got to get some fresh men in there and see what they can do with it moving forward for this team for sure. But yeah, you're right, man. It starts at the top, and it's going to be completely new in Kansas City next year. Be very interesting to see what they do. They want to go get a veteran manager, a young guy. What do you think the best move is for them as far as that goes, Jeff? Would you go with a veteran manager who's been around for a long time with these new guys, or would you get a new manager with some fresh blood in there?
It might be good to get somebody with some experience, especially somebody that can relate to the players and help the young guys fit in, get them trained, and help them develop.
For sure, man. That seems like the way to go, no doubt. And onto the pitching side of what happened with the Royals this year. So, ace of the staff this year, Brady Singer, came out of nowhere, guys. Had a rough couple years to start his career. This year was 10-5 for the Royals. If you're 10-5 for the Royals, you're doing something, buddy. Has a nasty sinker with a 3.23 ERA, 150 Ks, and 153 innings pitched in his third season. So, what were your thoughts on Brady Singer, man?
Oh yeah, he was special this year. It was fun to see that. He was definitely a bright spot, and we didn't have too many of those.
Yeah. And so Zach Greinke comes back for a second go around. Jeff, what'd you think of that?
Yeah, I was sure glad to see him back. I know he's past his prime, but he's still a solid pitcher. It's fun to see him drop those little 70-mile-per-hour curveballs in there, and guys are just standing there looking at it. So, yeah, he's fun to watch.
No doubt about it, man. So, he had a 3.68 ERA, which is still really good. Future Hall of Famer there, no doubt. What a stud he was in a great career, no doubt. It'd be interesting.
So is he done?
Back. That's what I was just going to ask you, David. It'd be interesting to see if he's coming back or not? I was going to ask you if you knew anything about that.
No, I haven't heard, but he's still effective. Zach Greinke is not the most likable guy. He's definitely very weird, but
yeah,
man, I mean, he's still getting outs, and like Jeff said, he's doing it, throwing 70-mile-an-hour curveballs. It's pretty cool.
It really is, man. Chris Bubich, Daniel Lynch, Brad Keller, and Jonathan Helsley were terrible this year on the mound, to say the least. They were just, there's no other way to really put that. These guys were bad. I think they had high expectations, especially for Bubich, and those have not come to fruition yet very much. He's shown some signs here and there. I've seen him pitch a little bit, but he's definitely was a lot more expected out of him moving forward. So we'll see what they do on the pitching side moving forward. But if they can get another season like that from Singer, and if Greinke sticks around, at least they got a top two guys to build around there for the Royals. So Jeff, talk to me a little bit about how you became a Royals fan when you were a kid.
Well, a couple things. They used to show them on TV, and I'm talking the free TV, because we definitely were paying for TV. So they were coming on. They were coming on every Sunday back then when I was a kid, and I used to watch it with my dad and my brother, and we watched baseball on Sunday afternoons, and that's how I got to know the players and kind of became interested in it. And and the more I started to play, it was fun to watch those guys. And then the other thing was just going to the stadium. Once a year, usually my dad would try to take us to a game, and man, it was just so exciting being there. Just kind of larger than life to me. And I remember one of my first games was against the A's, and Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco were both there, and I remember McGwire was coming over to sign autographs, and Canseco he was going to sit there and do his thing and stretch out and flex and everything, but he wasn't going to come sign autographs.
There's a shocker. That guy. Yeah. So Jeff, talk a little bit then of who are your favorite players growing up for the Royals?
Definitely George Brett. He was the star. He kind of carried the team. And then another guy, I'm curious if you guys remember Kevin Seitzer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hey, for a little while he was a stud, and I think he had over 200 hits one year. And maybe was kind of battling for the league lead with Kirby Puckett. I don't know if that was 87 or 88, somewhere in there. And he was really good for a couple years, but then just faded off, and I don't know what happened.
He definitely lost that to my boy Puckett, though. I'll tell you that right now. That's right, David. But yeah, man, that's really cool. So talk about Kauffman Stadium, and David and I have not been to that one. And I was going to go this year, but I'm just being honest with you. These gas prices here in Chicago are at $5 a gallon, and it didn't really intrigue me to drive all the way to Kansas City and back in a couple days and spend all that money on gas. So I was hoping gas would go down a little bit. It's not going to happen, so I'm just going to have to bite the bullet moving forward. But what are your thoughts on Kauffman Stadium?
Oh, it's a fun place to be. Those waterfalls and just the enormous crown. I mean, you can see it from a long ways away. You're driving by on the interstate, and that's like the first thing you see when you come around the corner. And it's just a beautiful park, and I've always loved being there.
That's awesome, man. Really cool. And then the last question I got for you, 2015 Kansas City Royals, man. I know for a fact that when that went down, I did have your contact at that time and immediately was texting you how happy I was for you that team finally pulled it off for you and got a big World Series win. So talk a little bit about that season.
Yeah, that was kind of the consummation of several years. They kept increasing their winning percentage for several. It was like 4 or 5 years, and then of course in 14 they made that crazy comeback in the wild card game against the A's, and then went to the World Series, and then finally in 15 they were able to win it. So, I mean, honestly, 14 was almost more of a magical year for me because I didn't expect them to get into the playoffs. And then once they got in, I mean, they couldn't do anything wrong. Once they got past the A's, they were going to extra innings every night. They were beating the Angels in California, and then they went to Baltimore and beat the Orioles, and nobody could beat them. Nobody could stop them. Their thing was keep the line moving. They just get one hit after another. It was nothing flashy, but they just kept it going, and it seemed like nobody could stop them. I just remember watching them, every chance I could, because it was pretty special.
So, who were your favorite players on that kind of team, like with Moustakas and Hosmer and the boys?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You said it. Hosmer was the guy that he would just get a hit when they needed it the most. He was Mr. Clutch. And I don't know if it was 14 or 15 or both of them, but his average with guys on base and with guys in scoring position, his average was way higher. Um, and that was just him. He did better, when they needed it. He did better with guys on base, and then Mustakas was the guy that had all the energy. He was kind of cheering everybody, even if he was on the bench, he was up there at the railing cheering everybody on, and he was full of excitement, and he turned it around just in time. He had really struggled with his batting average the previous few years, and they had a lot of hope. They had a lot of hope for him, and it wasn't panning out. And honestly, personally, I had given up on him. I was like, this guy's hitting what, 215. Why are we still putting him out there? And then about the time the 2014 playoffs rolled around is when he started to turn things around. And then in 2015, he really started to hit the other way and spray the ball all over the park instead of just trying to pull everything. So that was fun to watch.
Really was, man. That was a great team that fell short to the Giants in 14 and finally got back in 15 and knew what it took and took it over, man. And what a team that was. Salvi was a part of that team as well. Perez back in the younger part of his career, still kicking and playing well, man. So moving forward, man, I've always had a lot of, love for the Royals, man. I wish him nothing but the best all the time. And George Brett was a lot of fun watching him play growing up. Willie Wilson and the boys, those guys could play, man. And you could definitely had a lot of fun with those Mark Gubiza and Dan Quisenberry and all the fun names of the past that the Royals have had that just made it a good time to watch them back in the 80s, especially. And then when they came really good in the fourth seasons there. So really cool stuff, man. Thanks for chiming in on the Royals tonight. That was really fun. So, Jeff, man, we got to get to your career here as we close. So, for the first question, talk about your high school playing days. Did you hit in high school? One of the things I know you would love to do in college was take BP, man. And any chance you got to get out there and swing the bat, you would get a tree trunk and chop down some trees and put you up there with the plate with it and get some swings in. So I'm curious about your high school career, how all that went and everything to go with that. Go for it.
Okay, so I went to a small private school, and they didn't have baseball. And so, growing up on the farm, my dad wanted us home a lot. And so his rule for us was we could participate in one sport per year. Of course, my choice was baseball. And since school didn't have it, I had to wait for summer, and so every summer I played baseball, little league, and then Babe Ruth and stuff. And so that was my high school baseball was only in summer, and I usually played third base when I wasn't pitching. So
And you did hit, correct?
I did hit. Yeah, I mean, I was never a great hitter. I was a switch hitter. I preferred hitting from the left side. I just felt like I saw the ball better, and I had a little bit smoother swing. Maybe not quite as much power, but yeah, I did hit, and I enjoyed it.
So, at what point did you start dropping down to throw sidearm? Because you were a sidearm closer for us in college, as we kind of get to that a little bit later. But at what point in your career did you understand that maybe over the top isn't my thing? Let's go down below here.
So I just saw some guys. I saw some guys doing it um, in the big leagues, and thought it was a cool option. And so, I started using it as an out pitch, and I would just change my arm angle to get that third strike sometimes. And I struck a lot of guys out with that, just changing the arm angle. And so I just used it kind of as an option in high school. And then when I got to college, I don't know if you remember Coach Skinny, but I got to give him the credit, man. He was the one that he really liked that when he saw that sidearm pitch, and I think he saw the way it sank too, and so he wanted me to stay there all the time. And the downside is, I ended up in the bullpen then, and I think that's related to throwing sidearm, being kind of pegged as a reliever then. And I don't know all the reasons for that, but yeah, that's how that started. That was Coach Skinny.
No kidding, man. So, um, talk about your recruiting process and how you came to Temple, how you heard about it, and how you landed there to play baseball with us.
So I've got a story for you about that. I actually only visited 2 colleges. One of them was the Masters College out in California. And I went out there for their college weekend or whatever, and I met with the coach. And he had one of his catchers come out there. And I threw a few pitches to his catcher, and the catcher was throwing it back to me harder than I was pitching it. So that was pretty humiliating. And I was, I was so stressed out just getting ready for that and nervous about it, and then disappointed with the way it went, that I slept for 13 hours that night after that tryout. And anyway, the coach, he told me basically, you can show up and try out if you want, but I can't promise anything. So that was pretty heartbreaking, especially with all my dreams and plans that I had. And so then I was looking into Tennessee Temple, and my dad actually helped me make a video. So you probably should see that sometime. It's pretty funny. But there I am at this little park, in Newton, Kansas, in my shorts, throwing pitches to my dad. And that's the video that I sent to Tennessee Temple. And so, but basically they ended up telling me the same thing: you can come and try out. So that's what I did. And then you remember it went pretty well the first year. By the end of the first year, I was the closer, and that enabled me to get a scholarship for my second year, partial scholarship.
Yeah, so when you find that video, you better send that to me and David for sure, because anything that you have from that past that we can relive that nasty sidearm pitch, I'm all for that. So make sure you send that to us for sure. Yeah, man. So as you talked about transitioning to Temple, you did immediately become the closer. You were nasty there, for sure. When you started throwing, we would do a lot of inter squad games. You started throwing me in inter squad. I was like, what in the world is this guy throwing? We had some nasty pitchers for sure, but there was nothing like seeing that sidearm pitch coming in there. It was really dirty and definitely a weapon that you used to your advantage for sure to win that closer job. And I think the whole thought behind that closer thing is when you have all these pitchers that were starters like Joe Friend and David and all these guys that were starters, and then you go to something like what you were doing for the end of the game, like that was game over, man. Like these guys can't adjust to that at the end of the game after seeing what they were seeing the whole game. So it was a nice transition. It made sense to me as well. Not saying you couldn't be a starter, because I know you would have done well in that role as well, but I can kind of see what they were thinking there as far as that goes. So, what are some of your best memories of playing baseball at Tennessee Temple?
Yeah, our road trips were fun. Just the camaraderie, being with the guys, and you remember eating CC's pizza after the game and just stuffing myself with dessert pizza. But also just I love to see new places, so it was fun to travel and see some of those places. I remember seeing Atlanta for the first time and looking up at the skyscrapers. That's a little bit different than Kansas. And one of those teams that we played in Atlanta, the Atlanta area, was a small school that we actually had a chance at beating them. So that was kind of fun to go play there.
Yeah, no doubt. Atlanta Christian was always fun. That's where I had a brick thrown at me in center field. It almost killed me. Some kid was running through the ghetto there as we were trying to survive and get out of there alive, so to speak. So we definitely destroyed them a lot. So, so Jeff, talk a little bit about. I know David and I talk about this a lot, man. Your work ethic in college was above and beyond. What any of us I think were doing at the time with what you were doing there. And if we were a little bit older, I think we would have been in the same boat where we just worked our butts off. But coming out of high school, sometimes you don't know, hey, you better start working your butt off right away. This is college baseball now. And so you had that from the moment you stepped on campus, man. So where'd you get your work ethic from? Because man, was that an outstanding work ethic you had.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I think part of it was my desire, for playing baseball. I always loved the game, and I really wanted badly to get to the next level, and I had plans. I had it all planned out what I was going to be when I got to the big leagues and everything. So that was a pretty clear vision for me, and so I wanted to work for that. I think part of it also was just growing up on a farm and learning to work, from day one. That may be part of it, and then just I think partly due to my personality as well. I always connected with that. My favorite Bible verse for a long time was Colossians 3:23, which talks about working wholeheartedly in everything that you do. So I always connected with that, and I felt like that kind of fit with who I was too.
That's outstanding, man. Really good stuff there. So, what was it like playing at Ingle Stadium, man? What was that like? That feeling like the first time you walked into that stadium?
Oh man, I love that place. I got great memories of that place, and I actually climbed the wall a few times by myself just to be in there and throw a ball around in there by myself. I love that stadium. So I have a little trivia for you guys. Do you remember before they put the temporary fence back there and kind of shortened up the outfield? Do you remember what it was to center in the deepest part of the park? How far it was to center?
550.
550? No way. Was it that far? 430.
471.
Gosh.
And there was a hill back there. There was that big Coca-Cola sign. Here, let me show you something. I made a little book. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I made a little book of some of the places I played. And I got here Ingle Stadium.
Awesome.
And I got a little picture down here, and then I got a good one of center field back here. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's center field, and there's a little hill. There was a little hill back there. I mean, you had to watch out if you're running back there at full speed. There's a little hill back there before the Coca-Cola sign, and it says 471 back there on the wall. So that was such a special place. What a history,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when they recruited me to go there, one of the big draws was actually playing there. And then, like David talks about all the time, we went to Avondale for practice, and I was like, "What are we doing right now?" And then you at least got to play your games there, but I thought that was a full-time gig. So they lied to me, but it's okay, I guess. We did get to play there.
If I have a second, let me read this. I got a quote here about Ingle Stadium. It says one of Joe Ingles' biggest stunts took place in 1931 when he brought in Jackie Mitchell, a 17-year-old female pitcher and one of the first women hired in minor league baseball to pitch in an exhibition game against the New York Yankees. She struck out the first batter she faced, Babe Ruth, and also struck out Lou Gehrig. So that's pretty cool. That place has such a history.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that a girl would strike the Yankees out, but
whatever. Jeff, I don't know about you, but I remember the first time I stood on that mound, which would have been fall of 99, I guess. And dude, I mean, I felt like I'd made it. seriously, I mean, you look around, you got the stands. Back then, the thing was manicured to the max, and it was like, man, there was no better place to play than Engle. That's out of all the places we played ever, Engle is still my favorite.
Yeah.
By far,
Yeah,
number one for me.
I agree. Yeah.
All right, man. So, any funny stories you got to close with, or anything you want to add?
Oh, I was just thinking about Coach Hall. Whenever people would ask him, we're on a road trip and people want to know how close are we? Are we about there? About an hour. It was always about an hour.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is. That is so
Who-
true.
Hey, who was it that kind of flipped out on the water under the bridge speech? Do you guys remember that? We had heard the water under the bridge speech, probably 10 or 12 games. We weren't having a good season. I don't remember what year that was. And somebody finally was like, Coach, enough with the water under the bridge. It's not just water under the bridge. We lost. We played like crap. So enough with that. Do y'all remember this?
Yes.
I
Who
do
was
now.
it?
I can't pin it on anybody, though. I don't know who that was, but I
don't
do
know.
remember that because I think we were all thinking the same thing at that point.
For some reason, I thought it was Jeff, but I guess I was wrong in that. For some reason, I thought it was you.
I don't know. That doesn't sound like me.
Which is why, again, that's what Jeff was a competitor,
Maybe.
man.
Yeah.
Like there was no
Yeah.
screwing around.
If I was upset, yeah, I could have said that if I was upset.
No doubt about it, man. So yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Friday night games where we would actually have some decent crowds out there at Ingle Stadium, man. Nothing like it. And in college baseball, Friday night is your big night. And man, under the lights at Ingle Stadium on a Friday night. That's where our memories are, my man. And that's something we'll cherish for the rest of our lives until the day we die. And
Yeah.
so it was a privilege sharing the field with you, Jeff. Man, you were an awesome pitcher. And so talk to us a little bit as we close here. After college was over, you had transitioned a little bit, played a little independent ball. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so I couldn't get baseball off my mind, and found out about a 5-day tryout down in Fort Myers, Florida. So I drove 29 hours down there, and there was a Florida Marlin scout there that he liked what he saw. There was over 100 guys there, and I was the only one that got a job. And he put me on a team called the Aces, which basically was just filling in the schedule for that season because the Allentown team had gone under or whatever. They were no longer. And so the Aces filled in the schedule, and they had no home field. We were on the road the whole season. So I played with the Aces, and we went up and down the East Coast. It was called the Northeast League. Now it's called the Canadian American League. So got on the plane for Boston and started off in Brockton, Massachusetts, and just had a fun season.
Good stuff, man. And not all of us get to play independent ball, minor league ball, or any of that kind of stuff. So that's really cool, man. Congratulations on that. I know, like after college, man, we didn't have like the internet as prevalent as it is now, or just a little harder to keep track of everybody once we left. I think these kids nowadays can connect so much easier than we used to be able to. So it was really cool to hear that you had played a little independent ball there, and I'm sure that was an absolute blast. And it was a good time, man. So Jeff, thanks for coming on the show tonight, man. It was a big privilege, and man, we haven't seen you in a long time. Hopefully, we can connect and get together with our families sometime in the future, and see each other again for real, and be a good time. And maybe that'll be at Kauffman Stadium. Who knows? We'll see if we can set that up and figure that all out. So
yeah, we should do that. And it's been really good to see you guys and talk to you.
as well. And David, no luck to your Yankees moving forward here. Me and Jeff are going to sit back and twirl our thumbs because our teams are out of it. But we wish nothing but the worst on the Yankees, and that you get destroyed by a team named the Guardians, who names their team the Guardians. It should be the Indians, but whatever. We'll call them the Indians. The Indians are going to beat you.
I have a question. I have a trivia question for DJ. I'm gonna be really impressed if he can answer this. Can you name one player that the Cubs got back for you, Darvish? You can't do it. I knew it.
No,
Does it
because
hurt a
they're
little bit
all
watching him pitch in the playoffs?
still in third grade right now. That's why, because they got like 4 guys that were rookie ball for him, man. And me and you were talking about that when it happened. Those guys were like 18 years old that they traded
Yes.
for.
It still
So they're
blows my
still not
mind.
here.
It's still that whole thing still blows my mind. You can tell.
All right. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun here moving forward in the second round of the playoffs here. We'll be back soon to have another guest on, talk some more playoffs, and go from there. So, once again, Jeff, it's been a privilege. David, as always, man, have a good night. Thanks for everybody for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a good night, everybody.
See you.
All right. Good night.
Stop.